Hey there, my name is Sage and you are watching D&D Daily. Today I'm doing a blind stat block reading that comes from Critical Role's Call of the Netherdeep, the Swarm of Sorrowfish. A swarm of sorrowfish attacks out of hunger. Although sorrowfish have no sense of fear, they often adopt the tactic of lurking around the petrifying tendrils of a death embrace, using the tendrils for protection against other predators. A swarm of sorrowfish is a medium swarm of tiny aberrations that is unaligned, has an armor class of 14 and 104 hit points, and a swim speed of 30 feet. Has +3 to strength, +4 to dex, +2 to con, -5 to intelligence, +0 to wisdom, and -4 to charisma. Has resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, as well as immunity to psychic damage. And notably, the resistance to the bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage does not specify whether it's magical or not, so it means it is resistant to all. It also comes with a blind sight of 60 feet and is blind beyond this radius, and has a passive perception of 10. It has a challenge rating of 6 and a proficiency bonus of +3. Moving into its abilities, it has an ability called Swarm. The Swarm can occupy another creature's space and vice versa, and the swarm can move through an opening as narrow as 1 foot wide. The swarm can't regain hit points or gain temporary hit points. It also has Virulent Sorrow. Each time the swarm takes damage, any creature within 5 feet of it must make a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw. On a failed saving throw, the creature suffers the following effects until the end of its next turn. Has disadvantage on attack rolls, it can't take reaction, and its speed is halved. And finally, it has water breathing, which means it can only breathe underwater. Moving into actions, we have Swarm of Bites. It's a melee weapon attack with +8 to hit, a reach of 0 feet, hits one target in the swarm space, and on hit does 21 points of piercing damage or 10 piercing damage if the swarm has half its hit points or fewer. We also come with Desolate Drain, which recharges on a 5 or 6. Each creature in the swarm space must make a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw. On a failed saving throw, a creature takes on average 24 psychic damage and is stunned until the end of its next turn. The effect ends on a creature if the swarm moves out of the creature's space, or if another creature within 5 feet of the swarm uses an action to make a DC 14 strength check, pulling the affected creature out of the swarm on a successful check. On a successful saving throw, a creature takes half as much damage and suffers no other effect. My initial impression of the swarm's tactics is fairly straightforward. It's going to want to occupy the space of its prey, and it's going to want to use Desolate Drain whenever available. This is because Desolate Drain does more damage on average, it doesn't get reduced when the swarm is halved, and it stuns, so it's also kind of a defensive option, and if it has allies, also an offensive help. And it sounds like with the Death Embrace around, the tendrils are going to be extra deadly if these guys manage to stun the creature. And keep in mind that a Death Embrace is CR 11, and so if you're adding the CR 6 creature, you're starting to get into some really high difficulties, higher than the book I think even takes you as far as levels go. So be careful with that. Because of their resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, and their nature of wanting to be within 5 feet, I really feel like the Swarm of Sorrowfish specializes in taking out marshals, though it's not intelligent enough to decipher who's who, but it does have a specifically good matchup in that case. Anyways, if I were to create a flow chart of their tactics, it would be get up close to the nearest creature, try and stun them, try and eat them, and repeat. When you lose too many members of your swarm, okay, this food is too difficult, and retreat. Though it does specifically mention that they have no fear, so maybe they would fight to the death. Although that seems unlikely considering they probably don't want to die. They're not suicidal, they want to reproduce, so they're still creatures and probably still have a healthy fear, though that you play that as you will as a DM. This has been my initial impression of the Swarm of Sorrowfish. Tell me your initial impression, how would you run it differently, or if you think I hit the nail on the head. Let me know in the comments down below. We are D&D Daily. We release new D&D content every single day, so if that's interesting to you, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.